You are all set, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much, James. I want to welcome everybody to the Town Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for February 24th, 2021. If everybody could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If Noreen, if you could do the roll call, please.
Chairman Payne,
Here.
Commissioner Claffey,
Here.
Commissioner Fox,
Here.
Commissioner Havens,
Here.
Commissioner Linares,
Here.
Commissioner Sobieski,
Yeah.
Commissioner Woods,
Here.
Commissioner Braverman, Commissioner Gill,
Here.
Commissioner Haggerty.
Here.
Okay, all
Very
set.
good. Thank you very much, Noreen. I want to welcome all the commissioners to the meeting and anybody else that is attending. I will ask our town planner on the approval of the agenda if there's any changes.
No, Mr. Chair, there is no changes. I'm just trying to work my camera here.
Okay.
No changes to the agenda, though.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much, Renata. We're going to go, the next thing would be public participation for items not listed on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 2 minutes. You could use the Zoom raise hand function.
We do have one individual on as an attendee. I don't see them showing that they'd like to speak at this time, though.
Okay. Okay. Is there any remarks from the commissioners before we get started? We're going to go into the public hearing for petition 0721, but we need to, I don't know if Commissioner Claffey, if you have the procedures for the public hearing.
I have them in front of me.
Thank you.
Procedures for public hearings. The order of proceedings at public hearings shall be as follows. A, convening by chairman. B, reading of the notice by the commission secretary or a commissioner designated by the chairman to act in his stead. C, identification and location of the property involved by the town planner. D, a statement of the issue to be considered by the chairman or the town planner. E, presentation by applicant limited to 20 minutes unless a specific extension is granted by the chair. F, persons wishing to speak in favor of the application limited to 2 minutes per person. G, persons wishing to speak in opposition to the application limited to 3 minutes per person. H, rebuttal by the applicant limited to 5 minutes. I, rebuttal by the opposition limited to 5 minutes. During a public hearing, it shall be within the discretion of the chairman whether the time limitation should be varied slightly, provided the commission consents to any such variance. In no case shall an extension be more than 20% of the allotment indicated above, or 1 minute, whichever is greater.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. If you could read the petition 0721 also, I'd appreciate it.
Petition number 0721, special permit, section 3.15.4. New restaurant with drive-through at 12 Fen Road Associates LLC, owner Mark S. Shipman, 433 South Main Street, West Hartford, Connecticut. Contact.
Thank you very much. Is the applicant here?
Yes, my name is Mark Shipman. I represent the owner and applicant, Fen Road Associates LLC, in connection with this application for a special permit and also the site plan. We had previously been before you with respect to a subdivision of the larger property in order to accommodate the transfer to the hotel. And which is east of this parcel. At the time of the application involving the subdivision of the property at 12 Fen Road and 712 Cedar Street, the applicant Fen Road Associates LLC requested the commission to waive certain requirements for subdivision applications at submission and defer them until development of the proposal was made. We would be addressing those that are applicable in the current proceeding. Those are section 310 pedestrian bike path improvements, 311 sidewalks, 317 erosion and sedimentation control. See also provided under 6.1E, and the letters from the Britain Water and Public Services available. There were two other requested waivers which we don't believe apply to this application, and they were open space improvements and solar access. I'd also like to point out that the planner's report indicates our application was brought in the PD zone and that we did not avail ourselves of TOD incentives. As you can see in the package you received, the application is for TOD, and we have taken advantage of the incentives. I don't know exactly when you received your packets, but in the last couple of days, we have provided some updates requested by the engineering department, a traffic report, which the engineer will discuss, and they may or may not be within your packet. I would like to introduce our engineer, Mr. Wes Wentworth, to take you through the application. He'll be followed by Stephen Mitchell, our traffic expert, and Chris Milliard, our architect. Wes, if you want to start.
Certainly. As far as what maps we're going to have up, the re-subdivision plan sheet, SU1 by VHB. Well, we will start with this sheet then. This is the site layout sheet for the site. North is to the right. It's a 20 scale plan. Fen Road is at the top of the page, and which is the west. To the south or the left of the page is Cedar Street, Connecticut Route 175. To the north of this site is Myra Cohen Way. That is the entrance road to the CT Fast Track bus development, which is to the north and east of this site. And just to the east of this site is the newly approved lot created for the re-subdivision of the proposed hotel site that was just approved within the past month. Running along the east side of this site and through it is a driveway that runs from Cedar Street to the south to Myra Cohen Way to the north. At the north end of this site, currently, there's an existing building on the right of your page. That's the Starbucks building, number 14 Fen Road. That is currently there. That site is accessed from the east, from that driveway that I just mentioned, and has 23 parking spaces and a drive-through on the north side associated with that. To the south of the Starbucks is currently a vacant development pad, and that's what we're here for this evening. It's a grassy site that we are proposing an 8,900 square foot commercial building. It's proposed to have 4 tenants, retail, services, and restaurants. The front storefronts of the building will face west towards Fen Road. Site access will be via 3 points of access, 2 of which will come in from the existing driveway that runs from Cedar Street to Myra Cohen Way. And also in the northwest corner of the site, there'll be a 3rd access in from the Starbucks parking lot. The northerly access going around this building will be one way in. There will be a pickup window, drive-up pickup window in the north side of that building. Steve Mitchell, our traffic engineer, is going to discuss that later in the presentation. The access on the west and the south will be two-way, and as well as the access in and out of the Starbucks facility. 50 parking spaces, new parking spaces, are proposed to go along with this building. The total area of this lot is 96,663 square feet, or 2.2 acres in size. The allowable area of impervious area is 90%. Total for this site, including all existing pavement plus the new proposed pavement and buildings, would be 70,228 square feet, or 72.7% of the site, which is much less than the 90% allowable. We'll go to the grading plan next. Again, same orientation and scale. This shows site grading for the proposed development. All grading for the site meets the minimum town requirements. Cross slopes within any of the parking areas are no greater than 5%. Site access roads are no greater than 10%. Both of those meet the minimum zoning regulations for the town of Newington.
Excuse me, Wes. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was wondering if you could explain a little bit more detail of the retaining walls for the commissioners, just so we have it.
Absolutely. I was just going to get to that.
Okay.
So because we are tied into existing elevations at 3 points, the Starbucks parking lot, and we have an existing road where our two driveways are coming in, combined with the fact that this entire site was designed to drain to the northeast through the storm drainage facility for the Connecticut Fast Track pond, which I'll get to that in a second. We were locked into what minimum grades we could have on this site. The site currently slopes to the south towards the Mercury Fuel gas station, and because of those design requirements, we were required to fill the site where the proposed building is, and then to have all the grading work around the building, the parking lot around it also needed to be filled. So as part of this, the south property line along the Mercury Fuel gas station has a retaining wall. It will be no greater than 48 inches in height at any point. Secondly, there'll be a retaining wall across the frontage of this property paralleling Fen Road. That also will be no greater than 48 inches in height. Moving along to storm drainage. When the CT Fast Track bus station was put in, the entire area of this development was computed into all of their drainage calculations at that time. And what that meant is they sized their on-site detention basin at that bus terminal. It's a water quality and detention basin for this entire portion of the site and the Starbucks facility. It assumed 100% impervious development of this entire area. Obviously, we're well under that. So when they assumed that they designed for detaining all peak flows from this development for 2 through 100-year storm events. They also designed to treat the 1-inch water quality volume as required by the Stormwater Quality Manual, the DEP 2004. So all of that was taken care of at the time that detention and water quality basin at the CT Fast Track was designed and constructed. Later, when we fast forward to circa 2016, when the Starbucks development came in, this development pad was included in that storm drainage design, and a catch basin was left in the entrance area for the Starbucks entrance off of the private drive. There's a catch basin with a stub pipe right there that's going to pick up this entire site. As a belt and suspenders approach at that time for water quality treatment, even though the whole site was designed for water quality with the bus facility, they put in a hydrodynamic separator to treat doubly up to a 90% impervious coverage for our proposed development. We have only 76.3% impervious area of our building site, which is much less than the 90% that hydrodynamics separator was designed for. So we meet and exceed all the minimum requirements for both water quality and peak stormwater detention coming from the site. We'll have 4 on-site catch basins that pick up all storm flow. All building roof drains will be tied into that system as well. Catch basins have 2-foot deep sumps with oil hoods on all exit lines. So that's how that was all being treated. Water service will be a 2-inch line coming from Fen Road, as mentioned earlier, but serviced by New Britain Water. Sanitary sewer exists now in the private access road that runs north to south to Cedar Street, and a sanitary lateral will be tied in and constructed there. And it will include a grease trap in the road shoulder to pick up any kitchen waste from proposed restaurant use within the building. Electric will come from the southwest corner of the site. There's an existing pole out by the street, and it will be underground from that pole and come into the back of our proposed building. Gas currently comes across into the site to service the Starbucks, and it will be teed off of that and also come into the back of our building. I think we'll go to the erosion and sedimentation control plan next. There are no inland wetlands or water courses within 100 feet of the subject parcel. So that's always helpful when we are designing for erosion control. Overall, the site is, in my professional opinion, not a high-risk site. It is relatively flat. It is already grassed and open and has a suitable working area around it. So it has low potential to begin with. We will have staked hay bales and or silt fence on the east, south, and west sides of the site. We have a proposed stockpile along the east portion of our site as well. Construction entrance will be through our northerly entrance. That meets the minimum town design requirements of a 25-foot apron and a 50-foot stone construction pad beyond that. And all catch basins, once constructed, will have silt sacks that will be utilized to catch silt, where we drop a silt geomembrane within the frames of the basins once grades are brought up to that area. So those, we've had very good luck with those. We have a site-specific construction narrative and construction schedule on the site plans. And lastly, long-term operation and maintenance plan is part of the site development plans, and will call for maintenance logs to be kept on the site and spring sweeping of catch basins and or cleaning of catch basins and sweeping of the parking lots. And it recommends minimal use of sanding in the winter as well. If we could go to the landscaping plan next. Our landscaping plan meets all the minimum requirements for interior parking landscaping design based on the Newington zoning regulations. We have 34 trees and 152 shrubs proposed. And our landscape architect, Mr. John Alexopoulos, had a little communication back and forth with the planning department and has agreed to add one additional note onto the site. And that's been worked out with the planning department as well. So we meet all those minimum regulations. We could go to the site access management plan next. This is the same as the site layout plan. However, in light red, you can see we've shown emergency vehicles entering and driving through and exiting the site. Those are WB 40 or 40-foot length emergency vehicles, which meet your minimum emergency vehicle regulations per the fire department, fire marshal in the town of Newington. Secondly, we show 2 cars stacking along the north side of the building for that pickup window. Again, Steve Mitchell, our professional engineer, will shortly address that. At this point, I just want to address site lighting before we get to Steve. We have 5 poles being proposed, pole-mounted lights on the site. Oh, okay, there we go. 2 in the front islands of the building, 1 on the south side, and 2 on the island between the Starbucks and this facility. In addition to that, we have building-mounted lighting on all 4 sides of the building. All proposed lighting will be low power consumption LED fixtures, full cutoff, downward facing, dark sky compliant lighting. And as you can see, we have minimal spill off of the site. Town staff has asked that I modify, and which I've done, the detail to allow for an optional shield on the pole mounting light should it be required. I don't think it would, but they asked me just to put that on there as well. At this point, I'm just wrapping up my portion, and I'd like to say that we've had reviews and review memos from both the town engineer and town planning department, and I've written both revised the plans and written response memos back to them, dated February 18th, I believe, are the dates of those 2. And I believe we've more or less worked out all the issues with both of those 2 departments. I did provide the town engineer in his last memo. He asked for a complete set of scaled drainage report signed and stamped, which I did send to him via PDF memo. So that is on in his records as well. So at this point, I think I'll turn it over to our traffic engineer, Steve Mitchell.
Excuse me, just before Steve starts, I wanted to respond to the chairman's question with respect to the retaining walls. We filed our application on January 28th, unbeknownst, or should have been known to us. On January 27th, the regulation changed with respect to setbacks of the retaining walls. However, we are asking that the TOD incentives with respect to reduced setbacks be applied, and that we be allowed to continue with the retaining walls, which we have shown. Moving them, as Mr. Wentworth said, may create some additional problems of drainage and elevation change. That's a comment we can address if you choose at a later time. And I didn't mean to interrupt you, Steve. Go ahead.
I understand, Attorney Shipman, and thank you very much for giving us that explanation for the commissioners. I appreciate that.
Okay, good evening. As was noted, my name is Steve Mitchell. I'm a licensed professional engineer in Connecticut. I'm a traffic engineer and transportation planner. Been in practice for almost 44 years now. And I looked at this site. Could you go back one to the site circulation plan? Maybe not. There it is. And of course, this building is going to have 4 proposed for up to 4 tenants in it. At the northern portion of the building, it is proposed that a restaurant be in there, and specifically, it is a restaurant known as Noodles and Company. There are 3 others in Connecticut at this time. And they have some very specific ways they operate and the way they operate their takeout service. So I'm going to go into some detail on that. Before I do, I wanted to mention that the driveway network here adjacent to Myra Cohen Way was designed at the time of the busway design. And Myra Cohen Way, with the traffic signal that was installed there, was set to handle not only the busway station traffic heading into the fast track station at this location, but also to handle the other development on all of the surrounding parcels. And the DOT did projections at that time all the way up to the year 2034. And counts that were done prior to the COVID shutdowns in 2017 showed that the driveway traffic volumes were only a fraction of what had been projected all the way out to 2034. So the additional traffic here is certainly encompassed within those projections and within the planning and design for this driveway and roadway system. With that said, though, I want to address the noodles and the takeout window.
Excuse me,
which is on the
Stephen.
north side.
Excuse me, Stephen, if
Yes.
you could hold up for 1 second. James, is it
Absolutely.
possible to zoom in on this map?
Sure. How far in would you like to go and where?
If you, I don't know, just so that it could be a little bit more.
At an
James,
event,
it's just
yeah.
not in our packet, and that's why I just want to get it zoomed in more just around the
Okay.
building, you know, that,
That's
I
pretty,
know we can't
that's pretty-
read the red writing, but, you know, that's a little better. Thank you. Appreciate it.
No problem.
thank you. Go ahead.
That-
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No. No problem. That actually helps me see it too. So, so you can see there is a takeout pickup lane on the north side of the building. And how Noodles works is it's not like your standard fast food restaurant, like a Burger King or a McDonald's or a Wendy's, where the takeout window is an ordering window. It's a 3-step process. You place your order, you pay for your order, and then you pick up your order. And the hope is that in between step 1 and step 3, they've had time to actually prepare and put together your order. And that works in places like McDonald's, Burger King, where the cooking time is only a couple of minutes, and the menu is relatively limited, so they can churn the food out. But what it does is it still takes 4 or 5 minutes to get through that process. The money changing by itself usually takes a couple of minutes. So those type of lanes need a lot more stacking and a lot more period of time within the lane to handle the traffic. What we see at a Noodles is all of the orders are placed in advance. They can be placed by telephone, by email, or by telephone app. And you place the order and pay for the order prior to showing up on the site. So when you arrive at the site, you are given a specific time to arrive, and that is the time that your food is supposed to be ready, which again, the Noodles being a more complex menu with more complex dishes, it takes longer for them to put together the order. It takes longer to cook the food and put the order together. So they don't want you sitting in line while they do that. So you do it ahead of time. And then when you arrive at the window at your assigned time, the order should be ready. Talking to Noodles, they have said that they are between 90 and 95% of the time, they are ready for the patron when he or she arrives. The remainder of the time, of course, sometimes something happens and they just don't have the order ready, but also sometimes the patron arrives early, so the order isn't quite ready yet. In those cases, if the patron pulls up to the window, the order is not ready, they would be asked to pull into one of the site parking spaces where they can wait for the actual time when the order is ready, and they'll be given a new time to pull up. But there is no ordering at the window, and there is no payment at the window, which means the overall turnover time is much, much faster. Now, I went and looked at the Noodles in Manchester. It's right on the Manchester-South Windsor town line. They do not have a pickup window. Actually, this will be the first facility with a pickup window in Connecticut. But they do still do the takeout orders the same way, where you call ahead, come in and pick up your order, or you wait at the curb and they come out and deliver it to your car. The average wait time for the pickup was about 15 seconds. So essentially, it's just about as fast as they can hand the order out. That's as long as it takes. And so they do not need the extensive queuing that a normal drive-through window would take at a fast food restaurant. So here they have proposed, I'm sorry?
Just to note, Commissioner Sobieski has his hand
Yeah.
raised.
No, I see
Oh,
it. I was just having him finish up what he had. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So you can see there's a two space stack right the car at the window and the car right behind it. And then there are several spaces behind that where cars that have arrived early can pull in and wait. And then they'll be able to pull into the queue at the time that their order is ready.
Very good. Okay, if we could hold it right there, and Commissioner Sobieski has a question, and then we'll check to see if any of the other commissioners have any questions to this point where we are right now. Thank you. Commissioner Sobieski?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is for Wes Wentworth and Attorney Shipman. I'm a little concerned with the retaining wall being right on the property line. I looked at the one here on Fen Road, here where it says SR 505. It's a half a foot off, and it goes down to 2 feet. The question is that in order to service that wall in any way, shape, or form, you have to go on somebody else's property. That's why we have a setback throughout the town. I mean, it's not only, 5 feet would be more than enough there. Same thing with the one on Mercury Oil. I understand it's a tight area and you're trying to get as much as you can in there. But I'm also concerned with the fact that what do you do with, if you got to service the wall and you're going to be on somebody else's property. So that's a concern to me. And I read this regulation that you're referring to, and it has nothing to do with setbacks on walls or off the property line, referring to the buildings, in my opinion. That's question one. I'll wait to answer that one.
Wes, are you able to deal with it?
Certainly. For the record, Wes Wentworth. The wall to the south along the Mercury Fuel Building has a 2 foot offset, and that is enough distance to go in and maintain from the bottom side of the wall. On the western wall, where the wall is higher, at the south end, there's a 2 foot offset in there, and it does taper down to 0.5 feet at the north end. At that point, the wall tapers down to 0 feet in elevation. Any maintenance within that area, that's the state right of way. And just like lawn mowing or anything else, it'll just be done with access from the state road. If any construction equipment had to get in there, they would just need permission from the state to be in that right of way if that were necessary. Any other maintenance could be done from the top and back side of the walls from the inside if necessary.
These are existing walls, aren't they, Wes?
That is not correct. These are proposed retaining walls.
Okay. Yeah, the other thing, Mr. Sobieski, is that the regulation did change. Prior to January 27th, these would not be included in the setback requirements, but they came in on January 27th with the new iteration to be effective on that date. We had already done the plans at that point and determined to leave them and try to explain that it would leave sufficient space for the maintenance of the walls. Neither of the walls are so high as to require, create any difficulty in maintaining them. But I understand your concern.
Okay, very good. You're all set, Commissioner Sobieski?
No, well, my other question is, where's your snow storage in this area?
There is a snow storage shown on the map at the east end, I believe. I don't know whether it's on this particular one or the previous, the site plan, but it showed snow storage.
That's correct. We have designated snow storage on the east side or the rear of the building. In addition to that, at the corners of the parking lot. If you watch when these areas are plowed, they're plowed with the long runs. Truck will come in and plow perpendicular to how the parking spaces are. So we do have space in there as well. If we get large snow buildup, we can simply just have a payloader move excess snow to the rear snow storage area if that's necessary.
Wes, which sheet is that snow storage?
That would be
showing?
on the site layout plan, which is
Yeah.
SP1. Yeah, there it is right there.
And my
Okay,
final-
very good.
My final question I have is, I'm a little confused in the back part of the building. I see it says loading space I'm on SP1. Excuse me. It says loading space, and there's a hashed out area that says proposed bollard type. I have no idea what that means, other than the columns that so nobody can back into the building. But then you show roadway width through there 21 feet. If I take the 10 feet off of that, that should leave about 11 feet. So if the truck is sitting there unloading, then you can't use this road. Am I correct?
I would not say that's correct. That would be 11 feet through there between the curb and that truck, and that is sufficient space to get through there, especially with a regular car vehicle.
Wes, is that 10 feet, or is the 10 feet the loading space and the hashed out area is 5 feet?
That's correct. The hashed out area is 5 feet.
Okay.
The reasons for the bollards are there's outward open metal doors from the rear of the restaurants for service entrance. So we don't want those doors blocked by cars. So those bollards allow those doors to open at all times. And the hatched area is just another visual point. So in case people don't see the bollards, they don't try to get too close with their vehicle. As far as the loading space and that truck being there, that's a 10-foot wide loading space, 21 feet in that area, which does leave 11 feet between there. And in my opinion, that's sufficient space for a car and even another large truck to get through.
I don't want to dispute my engineer, but the loading space doesn't butt on the limited 21 feet. Only the 5 feet does, and that would create 16-foot passageway. The loading space backs up onto the cut, which has the dumpster pad and is considerably wider. It's not measured, but it's clearly wider. So, but there is 16 feet between the bollards and the snow storage area.
Yeah,
Okay.
And I would note that is a one-way pattern there. So it's not traffic in two directions.
Okay, Commissioner Sobieski, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, I was just saying, when I looked at the back sketch here, which is, you actually did a great job on the plans, I didn't see any ballards, and that's where I got a little confused.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Sobieski. I'd like to go to the town planner before I go to any other questions. Renata, do you want to straighten anything out or with what was said about the retaining walls?
The only thing that I will perhaps clarify, and I'm not sure if this is the correct amendment that Attorney Shipman was referring to, but the latest change to the zoning regulations, the one that became effective January 20 something, had to do with the minimum lot area. It didn't have anything to do with setbacks or retaining walls or none of that stuff.
Right.
So if that is the one that you are referring to, no requirements with regards to either allowing you to seek this incentive under the TOD, which you can ask the commission for, or retaining wall rules. None of that changed recently.
So Renata, he's basically, we're allowing it to be a little closer because of the TOD regulations that we have designed. Is that correct?
That is correct. They're seeking, they have right to use TOD incentives, which apply to the front, rear, and side yard setbacks. And
Okay,
that,
thank
in
you
my
very,
opinion, belongs with any structure on the property. So any kind of setback requirement can be reviewed by the commission and given as an incentive.
okay. Thank you very much, Renata. Now we'll go back to commissioners' questions. Commissioner Gill?
Yes, I have a couple of questions on probably on the engineering end of it. In regards to the electrical, there's no locations for a transformer in the drawings, and you're having it come off of an existing pole. And have we done any computations on how much service is going to be required by the four spaces?
I can just answer shortly. If you need more information, perhaps someone else can answer more clearly. The electricity will come, as you see, off the pole and be underground, come into the rear of the building, and there'll be an internal mechanical room at the center, common area inside the rear of the building. So that's where everything will be. As far as the transformer, I would have to defer that to either Mr. Hayes or the architect.
Well, if you're coming off the pole, I would imagine the transformer's at the pole.
At the
I
pole.
would assume so, but
Yep.
I can't say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the way it works.
Off of the transformer, you can only get 400 amps total for an underground. So because the space is so close, there's a possibility of putting a transformer in the grass area over nearby the gas station if that needs to be. And that was the next question I had, is as far as the meter locations, it seems more like outdoor metering and electrical is being done more readily now and not taking space inside the building. So there would be, possibly wanting to have four meters plus the owner's meter. That would be 5 meters in the back of the building somewhere. And your other, were in that area there, the bollards, I think you should have bollards the full length. Because I can see people, sneaking parking in between those bollards right now. Yes, they're blocking the man doors, but if there's other utilities, I mean, you're going to have a gas meter somewhere.
Yeah, one of the bollards is for the gas meter as well, and that's in the center of the building.
Okay.
Wes, the space in between is left open purposely for an unloading area. Is that correct?
Certainly on the south end of that painted area where the loading space is.
Okay.
My main concern was definitely to keep those man access doors free for regular service and emergency situations. And if there are any other utilities on the outside of the building, such as meters or, as you said, the gas service, certainly appropriate bollarding would be put in front of that as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Wes. Commissioner Gill, do you have anything else?
Yes. As far as the traffic study, we haven't talked about sidewalks. Are we going to talk about this tonight?
Yes, we are going to address the sidewalks. I'm going to have a report. I guess their engineer, we could go into that right now.
Steve, would you like to discuss the sidewalks and put up the chart, or would you like Rich or myself to do that?
I can do that. If Mark, feel free to jump in if you want to assist me.
While
Well,
we're setting up for that, if I could just go to Commissioner Claffey and ask him if he had, what kind of question he has.
The question I have, and it's purely architecturally, And I haven't seen it on anything that's really come in to
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, we haven't talked about the architect yet at all.
No. It kind of flows with the mechanical. I think most of the mechanicals are going on the roof of the building or somewhere in that area. But if we haven't, I'll wait till architecturals. Then that's a good time to talk about
Okay.
it.
Okay, thank-
I'll unraise my hand.
Let me start with the sidewalks, but I'm going to defer because I am not an engineer. I'm just going to talk to you about, do we have that?
Can we go, can we go to the aerial? That would
Yeah,
be
the
probably the
overall
best.
aerial.
It's the last sheet of the engineering set. That is it.
Yeah, that's it.
We've shown the sidewalk on the west side, of Fen Road. And it runs down to the crosswalk where there is a regulated walk light for Myra Cone Way. And I was involved back when the state of Connecticut was doing the Myra Cone Way, and they first considered a crosswalk at the corner of Cedar Street and Fen Road, where the gas station property is. And then they looked at the potential curb cuts along the way and determined that there were too many within the span of the 3 lights that existed, one at Cedar Street, one at Fen, and one down by Barber Road. And so they determined to put it on the west side, feeling that they could service central Connecticut that way, and that might be where most of the pedestrian traffic came from. They wanted the traffic light with the regulated light, and there are sidewalks already on the north side of Myra Cone Way, and they turn and go down to the proposed connection with what would be an ultimate connection with the shopping center. And they go down and service the busway. The idea being that the walkers would be safer walking on that side instead of trying to navigate between driveways, curb cuts, and the like, and then cross at a regulated crossing. And then within that crossing, they're able to access everything: the Starbucks, the retail building, the hotel, the bus station, and eventually the shopping center without ever having to deal with Fen Road. That was the idea of that arrangement, and it's what we had always assumed would be, as a result of which we have no curb cut on Fen Road. Our access is solely through the Starbucks and our own cut on the road, which travels between Cedar Street and Myra Cone Way. And I don't know whether that's enough of an explanation as to why we don't believe that sidewalks are appropriate there, that they would be redundant and might create people crossing in places where they shouldn't cross. But Steve, I don't know whether you have anything to add.
Well, the looking at this aerial, I think gives a good picture of the overall circulation pattern. And as Mark did describe it, it runs up the west side of Fen, crosses, and then into the busway station. So it would seem that a connection, if one is necessary, could be achieved along the driveway, the north-south driveway, the unnamed north-south driveway. And it would do the same thing that a sidewalk on Fen would do, except that it would also be more separated from the heavy traffic on Fen Road. It would only be the driveway traffic, and it would provide access directly to the hotel, to this site that we're talking about, and to the Starbucks. And it could tie into the sidewalk system at Myra Cone Way. So, that is a potential location that I think actually would make more sense than a driveway on a sidewalk rather, along Fen Road.
Yeah, so I agree with you. Instead of Fen Road, you're talking about on the easterly side of the access road, connecting to the sidewalk that's on Cedar Street and then running all the way down the access road to the Myra Cohen Way in front of the hotel.
Correct. And then the crosswalks would have to be rearranged a little bit at the intersection of the driveway and Myra Cohen, but that wouldn't be a big deal. And I think, you know, that overall would provide a much safer route for people than having them walk all the way around to get next to Fen Road.
Yeah, I think that looks good. Let me see what the other commissioners, Commissioner Gill, you had an additional question?
Yes, well, just a comment. The signalization for the crosswalk across Myra Cohen is non-existent. There's no crosswalk there, and there's no signalization on the south section of Myra Cohen. That wouldn't be a huge thing to do, but that definitely has to be there. And I think a sidewalk going down Myra Cohen on the north side of Starbucks to tie into that private way would definitely be, you know, and the other piece of property we have to think about also is the welding, the national welding piece, you know, because that's going to have pedestrian traffic that's got to be taken care of at some point.
Okay.
Excuse me, I would like to just point out a couple of things about the internal intersection between the driveway and Myra Cohen. I don't see any way that could be signalized. It's within, first of all, the minimum state separation is 500 feet and it's less than 500 feet to Fen Road. Second of all, in order to install a traffic signal, you do have to meet what are called signal warrants. And the volumes on Myra Cohen Way and on the driveway are simply not high enough to warrant a traffic signal. Now, you can still create a safe crossing with signage, but I don't want to mislead anyone to think that you might have a signal there. It really is not acceptable to the state.
No, I'm not talking about the private way. I'm talking back at Cedar Street, Cedar and Myra Cohen. You know, you've got half of the signalization there across Cedar Street. You would just have to add another head on the south corner of Myra Cohen and Cedar and put a crosswalk.
And Fen? You mean Fen?
Fen, yes, Fen.
Oh, okay, yes. So I mean, there could be an adjustment to the signal head locations at that spot.
There would have to be one added, you know, on the south corner.
Well, at the moment, the crosswalk is on the north leg, so I think it would be, the intent would be to continue to use the sidewalk on the north side of Myra Cohen. So they would cross from the drive to the north on Myra Cohen, and then they could go east-west and use the sidewalk, use the crosswalk that currently exists at Fen.
Thank you. Commissioner Gill, are you all set?
For now, yes.
Okay. Commissioner Woods had a question?
Well, more probably a comment, Mr. Chairman, but actually, what Mr. Mitchell just said, I think is the way to continue to move forward with this, to keep that crosswalk as it is on Fen Road on the north side of Myra Cohen Way, bring them down to that access drive, and then continue that sidewalk down into this new plaza, because you have one there. And I think you don't want to have a sidewalk on Fen Road on the opposite side, because you are going to definitely get people to cross other than in the cross area that's further to the north. So I think the safest way to do it is try to move those people down to that access road. So they cross at the Fen Road, come down and follow along the west side of the access road. I think that would be the safest. And also it would service the hotel at some point when the hotel ever gets built.
Well-
They could do another crosswalk there. And then as far as just one more thing on the retaining walls, these walls are not very high and there's little, actually there's almost no maintenance on these walls at all once they're installed. And if there is, it's usually typically just with a cap, which would be serviced from the top anyways. So I think as they're presented are fine. I think it's a good use of the piece of property from what I see. And I think it actually helps improve the circulation. And then one more comment where the loading zone is, they don't have the bollards there, which is intentional, so that the trucks can get closer to the building, so it will not impede any traffic there, which I liked. I think it's a good idea. And that's it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Woods, very much. And Vice Chairman Claffey, I'm sorry, Attorney Shipman, go right ahead.
I only wanted to make one comment, and that is, I don't think at this point we're trying to encourage pedestrian traffic on Cedar Street. I'm assuming, and I think we should assume that most of the pedestrian traffic will come from either central Connecticut or from the residential developments up Cedar Street, and they're on the west side. The Cedar Street, I would imagine if the National Welding site is developed, that would create an issue as to whether there should be sidewalks at that point on Cedar Street, but it may still be more appropriate to leave them on Myra Cone, because that's where the access to National Welding is going to come from. So that's just a comment. I don't know that you want to create any more encouragement to cross from west to east at the corner of Fen and Cedar.
That
Okay.
wasn't my intention, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you very much. And let's see, Commissioner Sobieski, or no, I'm sorry, Commissioner, Vice Chairman Claffey, you had your hand up next.
I want a question more of two-part. One is a concern that we as a commission, we got to remember we're looking at this piece of land that is before us. We're not looking at what might happen with pedestrians at the welding site across on the vacant land. So the question arose of sidewalks specific to this building, and then the comments went all around different buildings, locations. So we need to focus just on the application in front of us. And I guess I want to pose the question back to the presenters or the applicants in regards to the sidewalk. You're not putting it on the front. Is there any discussion within your consortium of applicants of, we haven't heard from you, is like, you don't want anything, or is there some kind of suggestion from you specific to your plot of land and project?
Okay. Commissioner Claffey, I think, and the applicant can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the applicant is willing to put a sidewalk on the access street to Myra Cohen Way and make adjustments at that end. I think when the hotel came into us that we talked about sidewalks there, but we never really made it a condition. And I don't see any use for any sidewalks on Fen Road. And if the applicant could do that on the access road on the easterly side, I think that would benefit the entire
I think I asked
entire area.
I think my on that side of the road, on their side, yes, because it seems that it's a connection point and it's at a lesser grade. I mean, earlier in the presentation, we talked about the severe grades that this is feeding back to the pond and all the drainage that's put in. So it would more than make sense to let them speak of if they want to.
Yep.
Talk about all these sidewalks all over this project that have nothing to do with tonight's presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll let the applicant answer.
Mark Shipman, you would like me to take that?
Yeah, I would, because it's not my money.
Yes, sir. So good evening, commissioners. It's Richard Hayes for the record. My partners and I have, contemplated this. Steve Mitchell, who is obviously our professional engineer and our professional traffic engineer, has recommended to us that if we're going to put a sidewalk in, it needs to be on the east side of the access way in order to eliminate as many pedestrian versus vehicular conflicts as possible. To tell you that I'm, capable enough to explain all of that, I'm not, but I know that Steve can tell you, and I know that he's recommending it to us for a good reason. We also recognize that when the commission several years back approved the 550 Cedar Street project, they requested a sidewalk down to Cedar Street in the access way. So we just thought it would be beneficial for anybody coming down from there trying to get on the busway to get them down to Myra Cohen in a safe fashion would be to run that sidewalk on the easterly side of the road, of the access way road. So I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, I know that Steve Mitchell is much more qualified and he'll be able to maybe expand on that answer a little bit. Thank you.
I think, Rich, they're interested in whether you're willing to do that.
Oh, no, if the commission's desire is to put a sidewalk on the east side of the road, I think my partners and I would be willing to do that if that's the thought process here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hayes. Commissioner Claffey, do you have anything else?
Yeah, in regards to that question, Mr. Hayes, and it's through the chairman, the sidewalk on that location would have nothing to do with this application.
Well, kind of does.
Kind of, well, yes, but you know what I'm getting at, that we're talking about a total separate address and number, etc.
Mr. Claffey,
Commissioner Claffey, if I could note, the driveway, the access road itself is part of this parcel.
I got you. Okay.
So that sidewalk would actually be on the east edge of this parcel.
And it's problematic as to whether we could put it on the other side and extend it through the gas station property.
Perfectly.
So the east side is.
Stephen explained it perfectly. No problem. Gotcha, Stephen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Claffey. Commissioner Gill, do you have a question?
Yes. While we're talking about the private way, there doesn't seem to be any lighting on that private way. Is there a thought of that?
On the access way?
Yes.
I'll take that if I could, Mr. Chairman. Great question and a complete oversight on our part. So you're 100% right. There is no lighting along the access way, and it's probably something we got to look at. I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you very much. Commissioner Sobieski?
Yes, quick question to the traffic engineer. I went by there today and I saw cars stacked up on Myra Cohen Way waiting to go through the drive-in on Starbucks. I observed on Saturday mornings traffic backed up on Myra Cohen Way and out to Fenn Road. Will this development that you're putting in now add to that confusion, or will it cause a problem if somebody comes and wants to go into Noodles or whatever else is going to be put in there and tries to bypass somebody on this private access road and get ahead on? That's my concern.
So I'm going to digress just tiny bit, just for 30 seconds. What we have been experiencing since the coronavirus pandemic is that many of these Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, where in the past, if you were going up to one of these places to grab a cup of coffee or a donut, if there were more than 3 or 4 cars in the queue, you would get out, you'd pull into a parking space and walk in because it was quicker. People are not willing to do that right now. And these facilities have been experiencing very, very long queues. It is an anomaly. It is not the norm. We're hoping it won't last because we're hoping the virus won't last. But What they have been doing at Starbucks, they've recently started, is they are trying to go back in the queue and actually taking orders from the people's car window in the queue and getting them to pay. Because as I described earlier, the ordering and the payment are the things that take the longest. So this is a new thing they're doing. They haven't done this before. This is something they're trying to work at. But it is hopefully going to reduce those queues and eliminate the problem. Certainly, it is an issue, and we know, but it hopefully is not going to be a long-term one.
Thank you very much. Totally understandable. Commissioner Woods has a question.
I get more of a comment. I agree with the applicant and his rationale for putting the sidewalk on that east side of the road. Actually, it does fit in better. I was looking at it on the west side just because there is one for Starbucks. But if you could get them down the east side and get them to cross past the driveway, because that first driveway on the north side, I believe is where the stacking of the cars is going to be. So I think it's an excellent idea, and it definitely solves the problem. Just put a crosswalk so they can get it across the street to the plaza, and I think everybody should be happy with that.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Woods. Maybe we can have the applicant talk briefly about the architecture, and then we'll see if there's any more questions, and then we'll go to the public.
Yep, Mr. Miller.
Yeah, absolutely. Can everyone hear me?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So my name's Chris Millard from Phase Zero Design. We're responsible for putting together the architectural drawings. Are we able to pull those up on the screen? Perfect. So I will be brief. I like to believe that these drawings kind of speak for themselves. Especially the 3D colored renderings, which we'll go to next. But as Wes Wentworth may have mentioned earlier, it's approximately a 9,000 square foot building that's being divided up into 4 tenants. Architecturally, we like to divide it up with different materials. I think that helps a lot with the building scale. It helps a lot with finding tenants too, so the building doesn't remain vacant, because tenants are always interested in kind of having their own identity to their own space. So that's what you're noticing along this facade is we have a couple different materials to help break that up. We also thought it was important for the architecture to look in kinds to the adjacent building that was recently built where Starbucks is, also on the adjacent property. So if we could skip to the next sheet. On the exterior, we have a collection of materials, mostly clapboard siding, which you can see is the lighter color underneath tenant, what we define as tenant 1 and tenant 3. That siding also wraps around the back and sides of the building. And then we also have some more clapboard siding on the sides and back that are a different color to help break up the scale vertically. In addition to those materials on the front, tenant 2, we're looking at some type of a natural stone material that faces that facade and has a taller parapet with the wood slats identifying where the signage is. And then at tenant 3, we also have a smoother, I want to say shingle style, but it's an interlocking style type of metal panel that would go on that tenant 4 facade. Next elevation. I don't think what you have in this set is the rear rendering. When we had initially made the submission, I had some conversations with Renata, who she was asking if we could dress up the rear facade. I do know there's a 2D elevation in the prior drawing that we had of the rear, and just wanted to make sure I was aware that we spoke with Renata and we had accommodated her requests to add a little bit more detail into the rear facade. Previously, that rear facade was all one color, one material, And since then, we've broken up the clapboard siding so you have those two different colors with the band, the horizontal band in between that. And then also at the rear entry doors, we included a stone surround around each of those doors with a light over them. So that way, when the building's viewed from the rear side, even though it is service entry, loading, emergency egress, it doesn't exactly look like that. And it's a little more architectural appealing. So the drawing that's up in front of us now identifies, the general concept of what those materials are. The top left is typical hardy plank siding, which is a fiber cement concrete plank that will eventually be painted, whichever color that that closer resembles the rendering. The ledge stone material, which is the material that we identified on tenant 2, and then the metal panel material, which is the material that we've identified on tenant 4. There's also wood siding at tenant 1 and 2. We've used a lot of synthetic or faux type wood sidings they're not natural, but they look really close to it and have strong durability. That's item 5. And I think a common theme for all of these materials is durability and aesthetics. One product that we're not using is EFIS. We know that a lot of retail buildings use that. It's a very inexpensive and certainly a very efficient product. However, these materials are just as durable, and they have a stronger aesthetic appearance to the exterior facade.
Thank you very much.
Not a problem.
Is there any questions? I'd like to go to Commissioner Claffey. Go ahead.
Just a quick question. I see you have a parapet, different elevated parapets on the front. On the back, I assume it's just a straight across. But are you doing roof-mounted mechanicals? And that's one question. And secondly, I don't see it in anything, but are you doing any type of roof-mounted solar panel or anything like that for energy use or savings, et cetera?
Right. I heard you start to ask that question earlier, and I apologize. I meant to answer it while I was talking. So right now, the parapet typically is around 19 feet around the building, and then at the 2 front, the taller parapets is 21'6". We haven't designed the structural systems and we haven't designed the mechanical systems, but ideally at this stage, we're thinking that those parapets are high enough to accommodate the mechanical systems for the most part. We're shooting for top of steel around 16 feet, which gives us a 13-foot parapet at the lowest point, and then a 4'6" parapet at the 2 higher points. I do know, looking along Fenn Road in this area, the Starbucks does do a really good job at hiding the mechanical units. However, there's a lot of other buildings that don't, and that the idea here is obviously to hide it, but I'm not sure if it's the request to hide it completely. If you're a block away, and depending on the angles that you're looking at it makes it easier to visualize the unit than if you are in the parking lot.
Okay, now I just wanted to hear what you were doing. I think it does for me as a commissioner and as a resident, looking at this nice picture I'm looking at here, but then if I saw, a compressor or condenser sitting above that, I'd kind of be like, well, it doesn't look as appealing. But I agree with what you're saying of when you look around that area, it is in a as you know, a matter of change. So it was more of a question. Just I've seen some other buildings around that they stick out like sore thumbs, the mechanicals, but I know you're limited for ground mechanicals, and it's probably 90%, 99% sure it'll be on the roof. So I appreciate that. And then just the solar question.
Thank you, Commissioner Claffey. Commissioner Gill?
Yes, just in the rear, if you do go with outdoor metering, if we could accommodate a flat space in between the doors, It's indented now, I visualize here. So that you had a flat wall surface to attach the metering bank.
Well,
Yeah, and we would likely locate, I know Wes has identified an area at the back of the building for the gas meters. We would also do the same thing for the electrical meters along the back. Out of these 4 tenants right now, I believe we've designed a spot at the back of the building between the 2 middle tenants, 2 and 3, for a mechanical or utility room. And usually we want to locate those meters as close as possible to that utility room, which is pretty much right in the center of the back of the building. This solar panel question I heard earlier, I don't really have an answer for that right now. I don't believe it's the intent to include that, but Rich Hayes may be able to elaborate on that.
okay, thank you very much. All right, I'd like to go to to Renata, to the town planner. We haven't heard from her.
So to start off, the way this conversation happened tonight, the applicant effectively presented both applications for the special permit as well as for the site plan. So when you think about voting on these actions, I'd like you to kind of separate in your heads what are you looking at under special permit and which part of the site plan are relevant at special permit decision making. And then, there is a whole other separate special site plan elements that is, for site plan review. So under special permit, the first thing that happens here is there is a use that is what our regulation have to treat as a drive-through, even though operationally the applicant presented this to you, and it's not truly a drive-through type of restaurant, but we have nothing in the regulation that is closest or closer to how we would regulate this, which is why this is in front of you. Since this particular restaurant is not necessarily a drive-through type of restaurant, and the building is designed in, as far as I'm concerned, very attractive manner. It looks nice. The only concern that I had when I wrote my memo to you was that under special permit requirements, you are required to get, and you are required to review their traffic statement, which they have submitted. I sent it to you in an email, not sure who had a chance to read it, who hasn't, but their engineer was there to present it. So you should be looking at the building location and attractiveness, architectural construction of it, whether or not you are concerned with the generation of traffic, whether you're concerned with location of access ways in regards to where it is to the main intersection, which you shouldn't be, because this comes off of essentially the existing driveway for them. And then lastly, I'll mention that, again, with the special permit part, because this is also a recently subdivided parcel that received several deferrals from you, I agree with the applicant that the open space requirement perhaps should not apply here. You have the ability to review that and decide whether you want them to dedicate some open space or not. But as I point in my memo, there is more than like 2 mile long walkway along the New Britain busway, and connecting to that, in my opinion, is more important because that provides access to open space, access to recreation, all of those things. When it comes to sidewalk and bike improvement, I do feel strongly that that is something that you should require. I don't particularly mind having that on one side of private driveway versus another side of private driveway. I think the purpose is to connect, and having a sidewalk on either side of that driveway accomplishes that. I do disagree with the statement that, it was not needed to have sidewalk along the Fen Road, because I feel that current connection crossing at that crossing light from Central creates inefficient way to access this building and uses that are proposed in this building. So what needs to happen is somebody needs to be on that side of the fan, cross over Myra Cone, go all the way down to the crosswalk, cross there, and then go to the back of the building and around the building to get to the front of the building. So with that in mind, I think I would be in favor of them installing sidewalk on the Fen side, on the Fen Road as well, along the frontage on the Fen Road. Whether or not you agree with me on that, that's, you know, this none of this is personal. That's my opinion. I feel that it should be on Fen Road as well, and I don't take any offense if you don't feel like that. And then the last thing that I will mention also is that with our staff comments, which in my memo I indicated to you, we have received the plans the day I sent it to you. You will note that in your packet, there are actually 2 plan sheets that were amended and submitted the day we issued the packet. We, at that time, did not have a full staff review on that. As of today, we have completed the staff review on both applications, special permit and site plan. And the only comments relevant to special permit application revolve around the sidewalk. The other comments have to do with the site plan, and they're all minor and technical in nature. We have agreed that that is something that applicant could and had agreed to address with us. So that is my report.
Thank you very much,
And
Renata.
by the way, I recommend approval. I find this use to be good, well located, well situated. My concern about sidewalk.
Renata, I agree with you that the access to that, what is it, the right of way in the back of the busway for there's a walkway there. I believe that's important to get there. Do we have access to that now, or is the applicant, how does this property get to that? Isn't it from National Welding, or do we have a map?
Can you go back to the site plan, James, please? So we can even use this aerial photograph. So what I was indicating is if you cross Fen Road here, and then anybody who wanted to go to Noodles and Company would have to go down Myra Conway, cross over, get on their site, walk across their parking from behind the building to the front of the building to go to this. What's likely to happen is that people will perhaps cross where they cross on Fen, and then they will cross right there to get to those restaurants.
I don't think the state wants them to cross right at that there, though.
The state may not want, but that's what practically happens. People do walk there. There are well-worn trails on both Fen Road and Cedar.
What I was talking about is you talked about a walking trail and access to the walking trail. Could we, could you show us where that is?
Yeah, so there is along this busway here, along here, on actually National Welding side of the property. There is about 10-foot wide bike ped trail that goes from East Street Station all the way to Newington Junction. So what I was referring to with the open space comment is on this particular property, requiring open space serves very little purpose in my opinion. I don't really see people practically using that. What they would use very likely is a trail, which, you know, the sidewalk along Myra Conway connects to this. So that's good enough. We just need to get a good connection from this development to Myra Cohen.
Okay, Very good. That, I understand that now. Thank you. Is there any questions, further questions from the commissioners? And I apologize, we ran the special permit and I let everybody also talk about the site plan. I probably shouldn't have. Commissioner Haggerty has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I initially was pretty, well, I won't say against, but putting a sidewalk on the east side of Fen Road. I mean, I thought it was just a bad idea to have foot traffic, so close to a busy road there. But now I'm kind of torn. I think the town planner brings up a good point. You have foot traffic coming from central Connecticut, and people are kind of going to do what they're going to want to do. So their options are, like she said, proceed north on Fen, cross over the crosswalk, go all the way down Myra Cohen, come down the Axe Road just to get to the front of the building. At that point, people can just and hopefully they don't do this, they might just cross Fen Road right in front of the building, which is pretty dangerous. I'm not saying there should be a sidewalk there, but I mean, on one hand, I don't want to promote foot traffic there, but if people are just going to walk there anyway, might as well somewhat make it safe. I'm not sure, but there is no sidewalk on the west side of the Starbucks property now anyway, and you can't make them put in a sidewalk, I'm guessing. I'm torn. I'm just kind of curious what the other commissioners are thinking.
Okay, thank you very much. I think at this time, before we have too many questions, could we have the applicant's traffic expert talk to us about the redesigning and the safest place for pedestrians to cross, and because we don't want to encourage them to go in an area that's not safe. And I do understand that sometimes people will travel the least, the easiest route, but if it's not safe, we shouldn't encourage it. So I want to hear from our traffic expert.
Steve Mitchell here. I understand what Renata is talking about for that stretch there. I just don't know that it's really a good way to access the site. I mean, you don't, when the state designed that signal, they didn't put a crossing in on the east side of Myra Cohen. So I think, coming down on the west side of the access road to the corner of the site gets you to the site. And then, yes, you would have to walk across the parking lot to get to the front of the buildings. But I mean, everyone walks across the parking lot to get to the front of the buildings. If you drove in, you would park and walk across the parking lot to get to the front of the building. So I'm not that worried about that movement. I think the traffic volumes on Fen Road are such that, and again, we have grading issues, and I just don't know that there's a good way to put a sidewalk on the east side of that road.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go to Commissioner Woods, I believe had questions or comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just on that sidewalk on the east side, for me, it's going to promote people to cross before they get to the crosswalk. And I think it's going to just make an unsafe condition, and I just can't support that. I understand that we're asking people to go further north and then cross over and come back down south, but that's the safest way. And I think that's what we need to do, is promote the safest way to get from the west side of Fen Road to this plaza.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Commissioner Woods?
No, that was it.
That's it. Okay, thank you. And I think Commissioner Claffey had a question or a comment.
Negative. It all
No.
kind of what Mr.
Okay.
Woods said. Thank you.
Commissioner Sobieski? Are you all set, Commissioner Sobieski?
Yes, I am right now.
Okay. Commissioner Havens has a question, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. More of a comment. If we insist on putting sidewalk on the west side of the site, which would be the east side of Fen Road, if memory serves correctly, the standard width of a sidewalk is 4 feet. There's barely 2 feet there now before the retaining wall, which means we then have to ask the applicant to redesign the retaining wall, which is going to redesign the grading, which is going to redesign the amount of parking spaces, the amount of usable property. If you're going to put a sidewalk anywhere, put it on the west side of the access road from the Starbucks down. That makes the most sense.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner Havens. Commissioner Fox?
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have to agree with both Commissioner Havens and Commissioner Woods as far as the sidewalk is concerned. However, my question is not about the sidewalk. I'm a little curious how the engineer calculated parking spaces. Do we know anything about the other 3 tenants and how much, how many square feet, things, how was that calculated?
I think our staff has calculated that with them. I'll have Renata answer that question possibly for you.
Thank you.
I believe the remaining 3 spaces are calculated on the retail formula. And by the way, this is intended to be flexible. The worst thing that can happen is that we have 4 spaces and then they decide to expand 1 space into 3 and somehow that changes anything. Like those kind of things should not change. When they have a use that doesn't fit their parking requirements, we will have a review of that. And then if that's the case, we'll address it at that point. But at this time, this meets the required parking for the uses.
Renata, in our TOD, isn't there a relaxation of our parking regulations also?
Yes, and that's the whole intent of the TOD zone. It's intended to be more pedestrian friendly than more vehicular friendly. So all those things that relate to cars and parking and things like that are the things that you as a commission, when you decided to put an TOD overlay here, chose to be more flexible on.
Thank you very much, Renata. Is there any other questions? I'd like to go to the public. Without any objection, I'll see if there's anybody from the public wishing to speak either in favor or against this.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
Certainly.
With what you just said, I know we ran these together, but for the public speaking, a part of it, is it just specific to 07-21 special permit?
That's correct. I thank you for making that clarification, Mr. Vice Chairman. The public hearing portion is on the 07-21, the special permit. So I would not entertain any site questions for the site plan. But if there's anybody from the public that would like to either speak in favor or speak against. And I'm going to go to the applicant just to see if there's applicant wants to add anything else or has any final comments.
Yes, I'd just like to close. First of all, I'd like to ask if you, after the close of this public hearing, if you wish us to separately go through the site plan again, or whether you've heard enough that you can just question us on the site plan at the time. That would be my first question.
I believe all the commissioners have gotten their site questions answered, but we'll double check with them when we come to that.
Okay, with respect to the this, I would like to comment so that it's in the record that this clearly meets your plan of conservation and development for this area, which encourages retail, restaurant, uses that are complementary to the bus station and the area. And we think this development certainly is. As you pointed out, the public hearing was required because the use is classified as a drive-through. Though we have presented all of the requirements for a drive-through restaurant, we do want to point out that this is entirely different from a drive-through, and basically it's merely making curbside pickup more convenient. You have to consider the planned and future character of the adjacent property. Well, part of it's already developed as a hotel and Starbucks, and there are 2 more parcels on the north side of Myra Cone Way, one of which will probably come in for a plan shortly, and the other should be consistent with all of the requirements of the zone also. So we think this matches that, and we think the buildings and the placement of buildings and the traffic circulation is complementary to this use at this location. We have shown the traffic analysis and the traffic circulation required by section 3.154 and the driveway locations, which are properly spaced. The drive-through windows, we really don't have a drive-through window, but we've shown you the drive-up windows and how it minimizes the conflicts with the doorways and pedestrians. There's no menu board, so it's not the matter of locating it within 300 feet of anything else. And the restaurant structure itself is properly spaced from the adjoining properties. I do want to point out that I don't want to beat a dead horse on the sidewalks, but we do have barrier landscaping at Fenn Road. Not barrier in the sense that they're 10-foot tall pines, but it should discourage somebody from walking across and walking through the landscaping at an improper location. And the state really didn't want anybody crossing near Cedar Street, which is why the traffic on the other side, but you questioned that enough. We feel that it complies with all of the provisions. Utilities are available at the site. The stormwater system is sized to accommodate any increase in drainage. The landscape plan provides more than adequate buffering for any adjacent site, and we've added to it. The building design is in keeping with local standards for retail buildings, and in some cases is superior. The juxtaposition of Myra Cone Way, the north-south right-of-way from Cedar Street, and the pedestrian traffic signal at Fenn Road and Myra Way with a crosswalk provides good, safe, convenient, and orderly pedestrian travel. We believe that we presented a plan that complies with both your site plan requirements and your special permit requirements, and it will enhance the TOD zone. It provides retail and restaurant, and will also provide substantial tax revenue and a number of part and full-time jobs. And we thank you very much for your attention, and we all stand ready to answer any questions you may have on the site plan, which I believe we have presented already and will defer presenting further, except to respond to any questions you might have.
Thank you very much, Attorney Shipman. Renata, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
With regards to special permit, no.
Correct. No. Okay. Thank you. If there's no objection, I would recommend to the commission, if there's no questions, to close petition 0721 and move it to old business for discussion and possible action.
Second.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion made by Commissioner Claffey. You didn't know you were an attorney, did you? And then Commissioner Woods, I believe, second.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Any comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next thing on our agenda is the approval of the minutes of 02/10/2021.
The motion that we approve the minutes.
A motion made by Commissioner Claffey
Second by Commissioner Sobieski.
and second by Commissioner Sobieski. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Fox?
Not for nothing, but what happened to roll call?
I didn't think it was very controversial.
Oh.
So I thought we're trying to speed the things along. Everything was unanimous.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, the next thing on the petition, Commissioner Lenars, could you read petition 0621, please?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Petition 06-21, site plan approval at 12 Fen Road Associates LLC, owner and applicant Mark S. Shipman, 433 South Main Street, West Hartford, Connecticut. Contact.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. We had an extensive discussion about the site plan. I think we've covered everything. The applicant is, I believe, going to add some sidewalks on the easterly side. He's also going to look at the lighting on the access road. Commissioner Haggerty, do you have a comment or a question?
I was just gonna, I think, a fine line between, discouraging or promoting bad behavior and realizing that, some people are just going to do it anyway and then finding a way to protect them. But, I liked Attorney Shipman's idea that, putting some, I guess, prohibited landscaping along the front of the building, which is, the east side of the Fen Road, to just, as people are coming from Central along the west side of Fen Road, they look across, like there's just nowhere to cross over. There's nowhere to go but around. So, I like that. So I'm satisfied.
Okay, very good. And our town planner, Renata, do you have a question or comment?
Mr. Chairman, just before she does, just so that the record is clear, I'd like to ask that the presentations made during the public hearing on the application for special permit be considered made and republished as the presentations for the site plan, and then open it to questions from staff and commissioners.
Absolutely, Attorney Shipman. The presentation was made during our public hearing for the site plan, and we accept that. And Renata, do you have a comment?
Yes, I do actually. So James, if you can bring up the staff comments. So when you are prepared to make your decision on the site plan application with a special, going back to special permit, the only relevant staff comments involve the fact that we needed a traffic impact statement and the location and provision of sidewalks. When it comes to site plan, there are two staff that had, as I said initially, some minor and technical comments. I need to repeat this because this is effectively a different application now. The town engineer's comments, the only substantial comments from him revolved around provision of sidewalks or bike ped improvements, essentially. The other comments that he had, as you can see, are to submit one compiled book of the drainage report. They have received them in number of different revisions and emails back and forth. He had reviewed everything. He just wants the applicant to submit that in one compiled document. to add a little call out on the plan. So those are the only other comments. And then the planning office, the zoning enforcement officer, in reviewing this, noted a couple of things with regards to landscaping. Again, very minor. We all agreed that this all can be addressed. When I put my motion up to you, which, you know, if you proceed with this tonight, you will see that I reference these two memoranda as recommended modification of the approval. That's it.
Very good. Thank you, Renata.
Commissioner, we accept the engineering comments, and we'll provide and the CEO comments, and we'll provide the information requested to the extent that it hasn't already been. And we'll certainly look to make it less accessible or less advantageous to cross the street by virtue of our landscaping. I also wanted to comment quickly, because it came up in the public hearing portion, about the problem of queuing on the Starbucks. People aren't stupid. They're going to be able to come in with a right turn on Cedar Street and proceed right up to the retail building without ever passing the Starbucks. The only problem they'll have is if they go out to Cedar Street, they'll have to make a right turn and perhaps turn down Fenn Road or make another turn, but they can avoid the queue.
Thank you very much, Attorney Shipman. Commissioners, do you have any further site plan questions for the applicant? If there isn't any other questions, I think we covered a lot of it. If there's no objection, Commissioner Sobieski?
Yes, thank you. Attorney Shipman, people coming in from New Britain have to make a left on SR 505 Finn Road and then go down Myra Cone, because you can't make a left into the access road off of Cedar Street. Just a point of clarification.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. What I was saying is a certain amount of the traffic is going to come from the east, and they're going to learn how to avoid the queue, which will reduce the traffic substantially. That's all I was saying.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. If there's no further questions, I would entertain that we close petition 0621 and move it to old business for action.
So moved from Fox.
Commissioner Fox makes the motion. Do I have a second?
Commissioner Havens.
And Commissioner Havens has seconded it. Is there any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Commissioner Havens, could you read the next petition 0821, please?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Petition 08-21, site plan modification for outside storage of a product for sale at 3311 Berlin Turnpike. Express Kitchens LLC, owner applicant, James Lusa, 231 Weston Street, Hartford, Connecticut. Contact.
All right, we're going to go right to our town planner, Renata, to give us a report on this.
So I will first say that I did see the applicant here for questions coming up. Essentially, this is where Express Kitchen is right now on Berlin Turnpike. The applicant, Express Kitchen would like to be able to display some of their granite for kitchen countertops for sale in front of their building. They have on the attached plan that you will see shown 6 areas or 6 sort of A-frame displays where they would display this granite for sale. they're not allowed to show this in what we call behind, in front of the building, like in very front of the building, which is why they have proposed that in these highlighted areas. The applicant is here. If you have questions for them.
Very good, Renata. Thank you very much. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
I have a,
Commissioner Claffey, go ahead.
my only question is, in that drawing that I'm looking at there shows this, the front of the building with stuff in front of it facing, in that little knockout area. I don't know what that other things are down by the, where the two arrows. I just know that it's for us to, the concrete walkway. So I just don't know how much we want as a commission to approve this stuff to be out front of where parking spaces might be that we don't see here. So that's it.
Yeah, it's not, we were over there several times with staff. They wanted to put it further out and in the front yard. We moved it so that it sets back from the front door.
This is all back there's jewelry, right? Right. At the
Yes.
top of the hill? Okay, thanks. That's what I thought.
Yes,
Okay.
it is. And so I guess these A-frames will have granite on both sides. They're trying to show the customers what the colors look like. And then they're actually trying this out. And then they bring that particular piece, I believe, to their factory and they work on it for the customer. I'm going to turn it over to the applicant right now,
Thank you.
if he'd like to explain it a little bit to the commissioners.
Hello, James Lucer here. I work for Express Kitchens. Our intent is to be able to show the actual product that a customer is going to buy. When you're buying a granite slab, the veining makes a big difference to a lot of customers. So it's not enough to just show. We have inside our store, we have small samples. It's a 12 by 12 or 12 by 18. And we find that the customer will say, that's not what I bought when they see the whole slab. This is our flagship store right here in Newington, and we do a good bit of business here. And so we would like to experiment in our stores now with having the customer be able to actually view the slab that they would purchase and how their kitchen would lay out on it. Because it does make a difference which way they put it with the graining and the different style stones. And that's the purpose we would like to show it. We don't want to put it in the backyard. We would have liked to put it on the other side of the parking lot, but we took all the comments from the town people, and this is the compromise we worked out. We're willing to do it here. We don't feel it's blocking the building, and we will not be in the parking lot of any of these A-frames are not in the parking spaces as we've drawn it.
Very good, James. Thank you very much for explaining that. I appreciate it. Do any of the commissioners have any further questions? All right, hearing no questions, I'll entertain a motion from someone to close petition 0821 and move it to old business for possible action.
Make a motion that we close petition 08-21 this evening and move it to old business for possible action this evening.
Thank you very much.
Commissioner Havens.
A motion made by Commissioner Claffey and seconded by Commissioner Havens. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is guidelines for outdoor dining application. I'm going to turn it over to our town planner, Renata, to talk about this.
All right, so this ought to be very quick. I mentioned last time around that, I feel spring is coming. We are right now still under the governor's executive order. So as it is right now, I still can use the provision that you created last year, allowing city staff, allowing town staff, myself, to approve administratively the outdoor dining for restaurants, which is great. However, that executive order may expire in April. It probably won't, but COVID vaccination is happening, and eventually that executive order will stop. Once it stops, we have to refer back to our zoning regulations in the way we regulate this. And the under current provisions, we require special permit for all of the outdoor dining. I think there are instances where outdoor dining should be approved administratively, if you agree with me. I have prepared this little document, which is essentially show us where things are so that I can review it. And I intend to post this on our website. If you don't see anything on it that concerns you, with some wording to local restaurant to essentially support us in this, in the zoning regulation or perhaps zoning regulation amendment that will allow either some kind of staff review of these outdoor dining areas. I was thinking we can do that by table, we can do that by percent of the floor space. We can either even go from requiring special permit to just requiring a site plan, which is not perhaps administrative decision on my part, but at least eliminates waiting for the public hearing, the notifications, all of that. So it expedites the process a little bit. So I don't know if you had a chance to look at this, if you saw anything on this sheet that is of any kind of concern to you, that you think we're missing to ask for something. I can use this sheet right now because, again, this is what I want to see when I'm approving these outdoor dining establishments. But going forward, I also would like you to look at this and then say, this is all great. If it's less than 25% of an area, you can approve it. And if it's bigger, then it goes to us, things like that. I think really when it comes to restaurants, there are a few things that may be of concern: outdoor music or any kind of entertainment, and where these outdoor seating areas are located in on lots that abut residential because of noise and disturbance that comes with that. So that's why we're starting this discussion tonight.
Very good, Renata. I would assume, Renata, that most of these things that are on this guideline for the application are exactly what was used last year for the restaurants, or is this brand new?
This is brand new. I have no idea what they use. We have nothing in the regulations that,
Okay, so I think the outside dining is really important, and I agree with Renata that the way we have it in our regulations now is too cumbersome, and it takes too long. It's too long of a process. I would like to see that that the town is very proactive and they reach out to the restaurants, because we're still in COVID, and they aggressively tell the restaurants that the town is willing to help them set up their outside dining similar to last year, and also reach out to some of the other stores and restaurants that didn't take advantage of it and see if they need it. And we can provide the safety barriers again. But Renata has an excellent point that partway through this year, we need to update our regulations, because we can't always do that the way without, if the executive order gets changed. I think to make the the easiest thing to do, I believe, and we'll hear from the commissioners shortly. I think that we should just take the special exception away and just make it by right and a site plan. And Renata would work with the applicants, and then they would present us a site plan, and then we still have some oversight, but we're not requiring a public hearing, and we're not and the other requirements, the notice and everything like that. It just speeds up everything. So I would be in favor of that. I don't really see where our outside dining really requires a special exception. I think everything on the outside dining is really pretty much a site plan review, in my opinion. I'm going to go to the commissioners and see what they think. Commissioner Woods, you had your hand up first.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with you 100%. I think that we need to do everything we can specifically for this restaurant industry. It's well over a year now that they've been hit with COVID and have lost as much as 50, 60, sometimes 70% of their business. Anything we can do to promote goodwill and to help them improve their business so that they don't fold, not only through the COVID period, but I think we need to continue this well after. So I applaud the planner for getting ahead of this and trying to make it as easy as possible to be able to allow these restaurants to get additional seating outside so that they can stay in business, keep their employees, and obviously feed the residents of our town. Again, I applaud this. I think anything we can do to speed this up, we need to help the businesses as well as the planner to make this a smooth process. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Woods. Commissioner Gill? Commissioner Gill, do you have any questions or comments?
He's muted.
Hopefully it's unmuted.
Yes, it's unmuted now. Thank you.
Thank you. Some of the references to tents, there's two classifications. There's tents and there's canopies. And some of this has to be fine tooth taken, but we definitely need to go forward with something like this to help out the restaurants. And if we could, get some personnel that could meet on this, and I can get some restaurant owners to participate with that. And, some of the electrical, some of the fire, has to be addressed also. Okay.
Very good. Thank you, Commissioner Gill. Commissioner Fox?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think you're saying that if restaurant owner wants to add outdoor seating or wants to if outdoor seating as part of his original site plan, that all he need to do is submit a site plan. And if that's the case, I think this should become permanent. As Commissioner Woods said, I think planner did a good job, and with a little tweaking, such as Commissioner Gill brought up, I would like to see this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Fox. And Commissioner Sobieski?
Yes, I concur with Commissioner Fox, Commissioner Woods. I'd like to see this go forward. Like I said, I think it just needs a little bit of tweaking, as long as there's safety precautions for the patrons. I have no problem with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Sobieski. Commissioner Lenars?
Yes, thank you. Just a couple points just to weigh in on this, because I think it's so important that we weigh in on this completely and give our opinion. We talked about looking at it as a whole, which I think is important to do. But more importantly, I think as of right now, what's going on, as the planner said, the spring is approaching, and some of the people that were allotted some outdoor dining spring last time, they're going to hopefully take advantage of it again. I don't know if any of the commission members know any other businesses or restaurants in town. I happen to know a lot of them being in business. I couldn't tell you how many times business owners came to my store, called me, saw me at the restaurant, and said, if it wasn't for this additional outdoor dining, they're not sure that they would have made it. It's so important that we do whatever we can and as quickly as we can for these businesses to make them or give them the opportunity to stay afloat. And I can't stress it enough. There's 3 or 4 businesses that I talked to personally in the summer after we did the outdoor dining in the spring that said, if it wasn't for this additional 20 seats, this additional 40 seats, we wouldn't have made it. Those are businesses in Newington, friends of mine, friends of ours, people on the board that we all know would have closed. Some were long-standing businesses, some weren't. I don't know which is worse, a business that's been in town for 25 years that closed or one that just started and closed. But you know what? None of them closed. So kudos to this commission. Kudos to you, Mr. Chairman, for getting the town people involved by delivering those barricades or what have you. The planner as well, even the prior planner, Mr. Minor, kudos to him for doing what they had to do to keep these businesses open. I can't stress enough how important it is to those businesses. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Lenars. Commissioner Claffey?
I just want to make 2 points. One is under the executive order, I agree with everything that's on this form with what all the other commissioners have said that needs to change possibly. But as we move forward to streamline these permitting of businesses, you know, say post-pandemic that want to come in and have outdoor dining, I think we have to also remember, and I'm pro-business, I'm a small business owner, but we also have to remember who else we represent as we sit on the TPZ as every resident in this town in regards to outdoor dining. If it abuts a residential property, that those people be made aware in some form of a public hearing. There's not many places in town here. I'm going to use one as an example, is Yanni's. The backside of Yanni's on both sides of them is residential. I think they're condos or apartments. And it'd be nice to let them be aware that this property is, come to us to try to get that. So again, that's after the executive order, when we really get to the nuts and bolts of changing our rules, that we just remember the residents that might live near a commercial property that might want to be a restaurant. That's all. Other than that, I think we've done great. But I'm just trying to look as we move forward. After the executive order wears out, our town planner needs to maybe just look into that, as this might be an option where we still have to hold some form of a public hearing or a notification of those residents. Thank you.
Okay. That's a great point, Commissioner Claffey. I'm going to ask Renata now before we go to another question. If Renata, if we change the regulations, we get rid of the special exception and we have an approval by site plan, is there a method or means of having a public hearing if the property abuts a residential? Is there a way that you could write that up to accommodate that?
That is complicated. If you want, the commission can hold a public hearing on the site plan if you choose to do that. The problem with that is that under site plan, you are bound to view only certain things, which those certain things not include noise or things of that nature. So having a public hearing on a site plan would not accomplish what we're trying to accomplish here. Okay. I think what we could do is eliminate or include some kind of restriction that says if you are within so many feet with your outdoor dining area, if you are within so many feet of a residential boundary, then special permit kicks in. There are other things that can be done. We definitely should require special permit for any outdoor entertainment kind of area. Like if anybody has music outside, that should be a special permit. That should not be a site plan.
So So that's a great point. So if it either abuts or within it, or if the dining is within so many feet, it reverts to a special exception. And if what they're requesting is entertainment, it goes to special exception.
Yeah, I would look into doing
Yeah.
something along that.
Yeah, I can live with that. Commissioner Lenars?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Did you have a question? Anything else? Or are you all set?
It might have been raised from before. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Yeah, I might not have lowered it. Commissioner Fox?
I'm sorry, I threw it up again. My question's been answered. I think those are good ideas. I was going to suggest public hearing only if necessary, as far as distance, et cetera, is concerned. Thank you. Good job, Renata.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Fox. So, and Renata, one other question, your guideline application, naturally, this also includes your building inspector and your fire marshal are always included also in that process anyway.
So the way I created this guideline was actually I talked to engineering, building, fire, and health. And together we compiled everything that's needed for all of us in order to be able to just approve it quick. So
fantastic. Great job. And I think we can move forward. I think there's no objection that the full board wants us to aggressively notify the restaurants that needed the outside dining last spring, and tell them that the town will provide that for them, and then also reach out to any other new businesses. And then whenever you get a chance, propose to the commission a change in that regulation to try to make it easier for the applicants as much as possible, except for the circumstances that we talked about. So if there's anything else, if there's nothing else, I think we covered our outside dining. I think we're doing a good job there. The next thing on the agenda is the discussion of the Newington Town Planning and Zoning Commission bylaws and rules of procedure. Renata has given us that, and we have our agenda. And Commissioner Fox asked for this on there. I'll go to Commissioner Fox to see if he has anything. I'm not. Commissioner Fox.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, basically, I took a look at it, and the only changes that I had requested, the only reason I really brought this up a couple of meetings ago or last meeting, was to make kind of firm up section 1.6 order of business with one particular thing in mind, and that's for the public participation. There are a lot of times where people wanted to talk about something that is on the agenda, whether it be for discussion or site or whatever. I wouldn't be able to do site plans, and so I was added so that in the second public participation, people can talk about planning and zoning matters in general, and looks good. That's the only comments I have.
As you know, Commissioner Fox, you've been on here for a long time. Some of these things have been changed over the years. We've added an extra public participation. We have moved up the zoning sometimes so that the zoning officer could have left. I like the way we have our agenda. I know it doesn't match our bylaws and rules. I'm going to turn it over to Renata and see if she thinks that we should possibly update our bylaws and rules And I know that it says under 1.6, the order of business at the regular meeting shall be as following. And then it has a list. Maybe it should say a suggested outline or something, so that each commission can tailor the agenda to meet the needs of their commission. I'm going to go to Commissioner Lenars. He has either a question or a comment.
Yeah, just I was a little confused, as I don't know if anybody else was. I just didn't understand. I know it might have not gone in what was written many moons ago. I like the layout. I just didn't know when Commissioner Fox brought it up. I just wasn't sure if there was something that maybe he felt we should do differently that could be helping us. So I didn't know if there was something that could be pointed out, but if there was, I'd love to hear it. If not, I kind of like the agenda the way it falls now, because it does give some back and forth between the commission and the public.
Okay. Thank you very much, Commissioner Lenars. I'm going to go to Renata, the town planner, and see what she thinks we should do.
You know, I don't. This is one of those things I really don't care if you change or not. Like how you run your business, it's like your choice. In other places where I work, first of all, the commissions didn't have 2 public participation sections. In Manchester, I think we only had public participation when it was relevant to either a general matter or public hearing. I think if anything, I would prefer to keep zoning officers report at the end of the meeting. I feel that applicants come in, they pay lawyers, they pay architects, they pay traffic engineers, all those professionals cost quite a bit of money. So to have the applicants sit through us going over, you know, approval of minutes and zoning enforcement reports and all that stuff, you know, I would arrange it so that all of the town matters are kind of at the end of the agenda, but that is your agenda. It's your,
Yeah.
You tell me how you want it. And
yeah. I think, if I'm not mistaken, when we have our zoning enforcement officer report, we have it right after the public participation. And I think the way we've been operating it is fine. So you don't really care if we update our bylaws, rules or procedures or not? Or not?
No, I don't
Okay.
mind if you guys do that. I would prefer though that you take some time. I mean, if you're looking at these bylaws, they're dated 2001. I think we're specifically now focusing on the order of business, but perhaps we should table this for non-busy meeting and look at all aspects of this.
Yeah. I agree with you. We have so many other things that we've been trying to get going. We have the Newington Junction that we were supposed to be talking about and we haven't had a chance to, and I want to get back onto that. So is there any other questions from the commissioners? We're going to keep our agenda the way we've been doing it, if that's okay with everybody, if there's no objection.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Fox, yes.
It's me again. Oh, no, I have no problem. My only thing was that, you know, we'd be consistent. And I have to agree with you. There are a couple of things we do have to get going on, and I think Newington Junction is one of them. As far as the order of business, it's whatever the commission thinks, just as long as it's consistent through the meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Woods?
Just a suggestion, Mr. Chairman, that maybe we appoint a small subcommittee to work with the planner to go through this instead of trying to do it at a meeting. At least get a rough outline and then have the full commission make recommendations, you know, to the subcommittee's proposed changes.
I agree.
Is that the change of the order of business or the whole?
The whole thing, our bylaws, go through the whole thing.
Okay, I just want to, okay. Yeah. It's not a bad idea.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. Just the thing I really was looking for.
You know, I think maybe if it's okay, if we could table this for a little while. She's got so many other things that we're putting on her. On
Yeah,
her
it doesn't
plate
need to be
right
done now, but just whenever you
Yeah.
want. Yeah.
I will put it on. I'll put it on my agenda and we'll address it down the road. But I'd like to get through some of these other things that we have. We have got so many things that have been coming up and then that we're working on.
Maybe June or July, Mr. Chairman. We tend to be a little slower back then, those times of the month. So, yeah, I'm in no rush, but I just think it'd be more effective if we did it that way than to try to go through it in a meeting. I think that'd be more painful.
Okay, absolutely. Good suggestion. I appreciate the suggestion. Commissioner Fox?
No, I'm just saying, absolutely. I thought this was just gonna be a quick in and out thing. Boy, are we killing this dead horse.
Okay, very good. Let's move on to old business. And first thing up would be petition 0721. If I could have somebody read that motion.
I can read it, Mr. Chair.
Petition
Go ahead, Commissioner
07
Lenars.
Got it? Okay.
Thanks. Petition 07-21 special permit for a drive-through restaurant at 12-14 Fen Road. Fen Road Associates LLC, owner applicant Mark S. Shipman, 433 South Main Street, Suite 319, West Hartford, Connecticut, 06110. Contact approve. Move to approve the above referenced petition with modifications. 1, staff review and approval of the traffic impact statement. Reasons for the approval, if you could just slide it up for me, James.
It's up as far as I can go. It's on your screen.
I'm sorry, let me see. The proposal meets the requirements for a special permit under, you gotta bear with me, sections 3.15 and 5.2 of the Newington zoning regulations.
Yep, very, very good. Do I have a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made by Commissioner Lenars and seconded by Commissioner Woods. Is there any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The next old business would be petition 0621. If Commissioner Fox, would you like to read that?
Sure, thank you. Petition number 06-21. Site plan approval for a multi-tenant commercial building at 12-14 Fen Road. Fen Road Associates LLC, owner/applicant Mark S. Shipman, 433 South Main Street, Suite 319, West Hartford, Connecticut, 06110. Contact. I move to approve the above referenced petition with the following modifications. 1, as outlined in the town engineer's letter dated February 18, 2021. And 2, as outlined in a zoning enforcement officer's letter dated February 19, 2021. And 3, the staff review and approval of the site plan that includes sidewalks along the frontage on Fen Road and along a private driveway connecting Cedar Street to Myricone Way. The proposed meets the requirements for a site plan under section 5.3 of the Newington zoning regulations.
Okay, thank you very much. Motion made by Commissioner Fox. Do I have a second?
Second by Sobieski.
Seconded by Sobieski. And I would like to make some modifications to it, but before I do, Renata?
I was just going to get to that. As you can, as I have referred in my report, the 2 letters that were mentioned here are the ones that I shown you. There was some discussion with regards of the specific location of this proposed sidewalk. So when you close this, please modify my proposed motion.
Yes. So what I'd like to do, if it's okay with the motioner and the seconder, I would like to modify the number 3, the staff review and approval of the site plan that includes sidewalks on the east side of the access road, all the way to Myra Cohen Way. And then add number 4, installation of lighting on access road. Are those 2 modifications, changes that I made or proposing acceptable to the motioner and the seconder?
Well, yeah, Mr. Chairman, just let me, I understand the lighting part, but what you're saying on modification number 3 is that staff review and approval of the site plan that includes sidewalks. Are you still leaving the frontage on Fen Road and just changing the wording connecting Cedar Street to Myra Cohen Way, or what?
I was removing the sidewalks along Fen Road and only referencing sidewalks on the east side of the access road to Myra Cohen Way as presented to us in the application.
Well, that sounds good to me, as long as we make a note that it's on the east side and not the west side.
Yes, east side, yes.
All right.
So I'll read it. I'll read it one more time. The staff review and approval of the site plan that includes sidewalks along, oh, they already corrected it? Along the east. How'd they do that so fast?
I'm
Along
pretty
the
good.
east side, along
I
the
still have
private
the old
driveway
one.
connecting to Cedar Street to Myra Cohen Way. James is unbelievable.
Don't tell them that.
And then number 4, installation of lighting on access road. So we have a motion, and it was acceptable to the motioner. Was it acceptable to the seconder? Who was the seconder?
I was Commissioner Payne, and yes, it is.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Sobieski. Renata, do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
No, except to say thank you, James. This is fantastic.
Yeah. Very good. If there's no objection, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Richard Hayes, folks, thank you very much. We appreciate your support this evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hayes, and congratulations. And we wish you the best of luck with all your developments there.
Thank you.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda would be petition 0821. And if I could have Commissioner Woods, would you mind reading that?
Sure. Petition 0821, site plan modification at 3311 Berlin Turnpike, Express Kitchens, owner applicant, James Lusa, 231 Weston Street, Hartford, Connecticut, contact. Approve. Move to approve the site plan modification to allow the display of granite slabs for sale. Reasons for approval. This proposal meets the requirements for a special permit under sections 3.23 and 5.3 of the Newington zoning regulations.
Motion made by Commissioner Woods. Do I have a second?
Second, Commissioner Havens.
We have a Commissioner Havens seconding it. The town planner, Renata. Do you have anything else you'd like to add, Renata?
Absolutely not on this one, no.
Okay. So we have a motion made and seconded. If there's no questions or comments, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Proposed text amendment. Next thing, I think we took care of everything on that. We have old businesses done. We have petitions for public hearing scheduling. Renata is working on the chicken regulations, and she'll make a presentation to them, to us when she schedules those. And if anybody at the time wants it presented, then we can always make minor changes. Isn't that correct, Renata?
That is absolutely correct. I have sent paperwork on this already so that you have some time to look at this. It includes a bunch of distance things and number of chicken and all that stuff. And, you know, some of this, you may want to think ahead of time. Some of this will probably come up in a discussion on the public hearing, but I think it's important to allow this. The elements of how we do it are all going to be discussed at the hearing, and I would like to schedule this hearing for next meeting so that this is like, it's a low hanging fruit. I really want it like off of my to-do list.
Sounds good, Renata. Could you also, for next meeting, could we have the Newington Junction for discussion? The only thing go ahead.
I was going to say, I was going to address Newington Junction under communication, and then we can talk about whether we want it for next meeting.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so under the town planner's report is next.
Actually, that's when I was going to. So with Newington Junction, I attended a CROG meeting. CROG is doing another one of those TOD studies, and we are going to be eligible to include one of our areas in that study that they're doing. One component that I thought was particularly relevant in this is they're going to look at feasibility of projects. So what's going to happen is they're going to actually talk to developers that do residential and mixed use type of developments and discuss costs and financing packets that these guys have to put together in order for project to be viable. And that will bring us a little bit to the density discussion. So I can bring up this for us to talk about at the next meeting, but I'm thinking at this point, Newington Junction really will benefit, hopefully, from the study that they do. There will be some information there that's going to inform us on how we proceed here. So you can tell me how would you like that handle. I don't know how long will it take them. They're at the like initial stages of this. So I don't really know how long any of this will take. I'm suspecting not too long, but it could be a few months at least.
Okay. I think our regulations for the Newington Junction should be very similar to the TOD regulations that we have at Fen Road, except the only thing I see different is that we need extra protection for the residential property, maybe increased buffers and consideration for the residential. And then also special consideration for the character of the historical houses in the area and having development blending in properly. What do you think about that, Renata?
I don't disagree with you. However, my understanding is that Newington Junction is one of these areas where town residents feel uninvited in design of their own neighborhood. So if I write down a regulation that hasn't been on an input level taken from residents in the area.
We've had input before you came. We've had lots of time to have plenty of input. So I'm thinking if we draft up a regulation and it's similar to the TOD area, they're both TOD areas, so they should be identical. But because the Newington Junction is so close to the residents, we need special protection for some of the residential property. And then also was mentioned in some of the meetings was the character of the historical houses there and stuff. And then when we hold our public hearing about those regulations, we'll be able to get some additional input, and we can always make some minor modifications to it when we have the public at a meeting.
Okay, so then at the next meeting, would you like to look at, do you want to start with the map? Do you want to start with, this where we think this would be acceptable? Okay, so next meeting, I'll come to you with perhaps some parcels that I think could be good for TOD type development.
Okay.
And then we can work on regulations like from that point on. And also, we don't have to, we can start incrementally and perhaps use, 3-4 parcels, industrial, in that general area. I'll take a look and see. I'm pretty sure like those off of Willard would be best suited for this.
Okay.
And then we can proceed from there. If that works, if it works there, if there is a market, if we did a good regulation, the market will tell us, and then we can expand the zoning district if needs be.
Okay, that sounds like a plan. I'm going to open it up to the other commissioners to see what they think. Do they agree with moving forward like that? Or do they have another opinion?
I think that's a good way to move forward, Mr. Chairman and Renata.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Fox?
I agree. However, the only little problem I would have is we had gotten input, I think quite a while ago, and we may have some newer people with some new input. I think we should give them somewhat of a chance to, to get some updated input. Otherwise, I like the idea of getting this thing going. Thank you.
We will definitely get we will leave when we discuss it and we have a presentation and a public hearing, we will have a public hearing and we will advertise it and we will leave it open so that we can get as much public input as possible. Commissioner Woods?
Yeah, I was going to agree with you, Mr. Chairman. I think that we need to move forward with it and get a plan out there. I think there's a segment that obviously we've heard from some of them. They don't want anything done there, but possibly if we could put something that is a little more appealing and pleasant to the eye than what we envision being there, maybe we could start to win them over and show them that this is not a bad thing. It actually could be a really good thing for the community and more importantly for the neighborhood.
Very good. I think you're correct. Thank you, Commissioner Woods. Is there any other comments? Okay, is there any communications, Renata?
I included to you a little spreadsheet with the CROG referrals. There is a letter for Noble Energy, and I just received yesterday a letter actually addressed to you, Mr. Chairman, and to the Planning Commission, and it is with regards to environmental land use restriction on 100 Mitchell. Those are pretty generic letters. I can actually include that whole packet for you for the next meeting agenda, but they're essentially trying to sell the property and showing which parts need environmental remediation on the site under the Transfer Act. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we're at participation. If there's anybody from the public that would like to make a comment on the meeting.
It appears we are silent for this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Thank you very much, James. Remarks from commissioners? Any remarks from the commissioners? Closing remarks by the chairman. I just want to, I'd like to congratulate Renata and the staff, engineering, Eric, building. I mean, they've done an amazing job reviewing the applications lately. I have a hard time finding any problems with these things that have been coming in front of us. They've been doing such a fantastic job, very speedy. It's exactly what we need to encourage some development, yet they're being extremely thorough. And I appreciate all their work, and keep the job going. Great job, guys. And I want to thank all the commissioners for their understanding and all their questions. You guys have been doing a fantastic job. So we'll continue to address all the new development, and we'll try to address changing the regulations and some of the other things that have been brought in front of us. And thank everybody. Renata?
You know, I write myself these little notes and I always forget something. Another thing I wanted to say under the town planner's report is next month, we're going to start discussing comprehensive changes, and we will start with the B zone because all of the other business zone refer back to it. So it's like a logical one to start with. So I will be sending you some documentation in an email tomorrow. I wanted to say something before I just like slam a bunch of paper at you, but we'll be sending you something, and then I want to start that discussion next meeting as well.
Very good. Thank you very much, Renata. And I want to thank all the commissioners. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Fox. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everybody, and thank you very much. And special thanks to James. Excellent job, as always. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good night. Thanks.
Good night, everybody.
Aye.